She fell by reserved table by mistake, and the virgin millionaire refused to let her walk away. The 32-year-old tech genius worth billions who never appeared in public, whose face rarely graced magazines, and who, according to whispers that followed him everywhere, had never dated anyone. Ever. What would you do if someone offered you millions for a year of pretending? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. She fell at his feet in a crowded restaurant. Within 24 hours, she'd agreed to marry a man the world believed had never been touched. The crystal glasses clinked as Mia Evans tumbled forward, her thrift store dress catching the chandelier light. Her heel had snagged on the plush carpet of Chicago's most exclusive rooftop restaurant, sending her sprawling beside the most important table in the room. Time froze as champagne splashed across imported marble. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. And there he was, Adrian Cole, the 32-year-old tech genius worth billions who never appeared in public, whose face rarely graced magazines, and who, according to whispers that followed him everywhere, had never dated anyone. Ever. Are you hurt? His voice was quiet but commanding, cutting through her mortification. Mia scrambled to her knees, cheeks burning. I'm Fine. I'm so sorry about your everything. She gestured helplessly at the scattered roses and overturned water glasses. Adrian's eyes, startlingly blue against his dark hair, studied her with unsettling focus. He ignored the hovering waitstaff and leaned closer. You're not walking away until we talk. A chill ran down her spine. Not a request, a statement. Excuse me. Mia's embarrassment flashed to irritation. Who did he think he was? The richest man in Chicago. That's who. Adrian glanced at his watch, then back at her. My dinner companion isn't coming. You've effectively cleared my table. The least you could do is join me. Something in his expression made Mia pause. This wasn't about her clumsiness. This was something else entirely. I'm not really dressed for. She gestured at the dining room, where women dripped diamonds and men wore watches worth more than her apartment. You're already here. He nodded to the chair across from him. Please. That please, softer, almost vulnerable, made her decision. 20 minutes later, they'd ordered, and Adrian Cole had barely touched his food, too busy studying her like a complex equation. You're not from Chicago, he said. Detroit. Just visiting for the weekend. She didn't mention the charity auction ticket her friend had given her. Her one chance to experience how the other half lived. Perfect. He straightened, decision made. I need your help, Ms. Evans. My help? Mia almost laughed. With what? I need a wife by midnight tomorrow. He slid a leather portfolio across the table. And you need money. The world tilted beneath her. I'm sorry, what? Adrian's fingers drummed once on the table, the only sign of impatience. My father died last year. His will contains an unusual provision. If I'm not married by tomorrow night, I lose controlling interest in my company to my cousin Marcus. Mia stared, certain this was some bizarre joke. And you're telling me this because I'm offering you $5 million to marry me for 1 year. His eyes never left hers. No intimacy required. Just your signature and your discretion. The restaurant spun around her. $5 million. Her sister's medical bills. The experimental treatment they couldn't afford. Their apartment's eviction notice. Why me? She whispered. Adrian's mouth curved slightly. Because you're the first person I've met who didn't recognize me immediately. Because you stood up to the stairs when you fell. And because you need this as much as I do. How could you possibly know what I need? The medical alert app on your phone. The way you check the price of everything on a menu before ordering the cheapest item. The calls you've ignored twice from Detroit General Hospital. His gaze softened. I noticed things, Ms. Evans. It's what made me rich. Mia esse trotaiten. Her sister was getting worse. The treatments weren't working. $5 million could change everything. What exactly would this involve? She asked, hating how her voice shook. Adrian's shoulders relaxed slightly. A legal marriage. Living at my Seattle estate for appearances. Attending necessary functions as my wife. Then, after 1 year, a quiet divorce and your money. And no, she couldn't finish the sentence. No physical requirements, he confirmed, his expression unreadable. This is strictly business. Mia looked down at the contract he'd pushed toward her. 10 pages of legal language that would change her life forever. I need to think about this. Adrian nodded once. You have until noon tomorrow. My driver will take you to your hotel and bring you to my suite if you decide to accept. He stood, towering over the table. Choose wisely, Ms. Evans. As he walked away, Mia realized every person in the restaurant was watching, wondering who she was to command the attention of Chicago's most mysterious bachelor. Have you ever had an embarrassing moment transform your entire life? What would you do if someone offered you millions for a year of pretending? Would you sign away your freedom to save someone you love? Stay with me, because Mia's decision would lead her into a world of secrets, lies, and unexpected feelings that neither she nor Adrian had bargained for. $5 million for 1 year of her life. All she had to do was convince the world she'd melted the heart of a man who'd never wanted anyone. Mia paced the hotel room she could barely afford, the business card Adrian had given her burning a hole in her palm. Outside, Chicago glittered like spilled diamonds against the night sky. Her phone buzzed again. The hospital. Her hand trembled as she answered. Miss Evans? It's Dr. Winters. Your sister's condition has destabilized. We need to discuss more aggressive treatment options. The doctor's clinical tone couldn't mask the underlying message. Lily was getting worse. Much worse. What about the experimental program at Mayo Clinic? Mia asked, her voice barely audible. Without insurance coverage. The pause said everything. Perhaps we should discuss comfort care measures. Comfort care, the phrase doctors used when they meant giving up. No. Mia's grip tightened on the phone. I'll figure something out. Just keep her stable until I get back. After hanging up, she opened her laptop, searching for Adrian Cole for the 20th time that night. The same headlines appeared. Tech genius Adrian Cole avoids spotlight. Cole Industries revolutionizes cybersecurity. The billionaire bachelor. Why Adrian Cole remains unattached. The last article quoted an anonymous source. Cole has never been seen with a woman. Many speculate he's simply not interested in relationships at all. Mia closed her eyes. The proposition seemed impossible. Marry a stranger, pretend to be in love, walk away rich. But hospitals didn't accept promises or prayers. They wanted money. Money she didn't have. At precisely noon the next day, Mia stepped into Adrian's penthouse suite, decision made. The space was minimalist. All clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. Adrian stood with his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. Chicago stretched out 40 stories below. I don't care what the board thinks, he was saying, voice firm. The merger proceeds as planned. He turned, saw her, and something flickered across his face. I'll call you back. He ended the call, studying her with that same intense focus from the restaurant. You came. I have conditions, Mia said, refusing to be intimidated by his wealth or his presence. A hint of approval crossed his features. I expected nothing less. My sister gets the best medical care available. I want half the money up front, in an account only I can access. Adrian nodded. Reasonable. And I want the truth. Why me? There must be 100 women in your circles who'd jump at this chance. He gestured to the sleek couch. Once they were seated, he leaned forward, elbows on knees. Anyone from my social circle would have ulterior motives. Business connections, social climbing, genuine romantic interest. The last words carried a hint of distaste. You need money for one specific purpose. Once you have it, you'll want to return to your life. And that's what you want? Someone who'll leave. Something shifted in his expression. I want someone who won't complicate things. Marriage is the condition, my father said. He didn't specify what kind of marriage it needed to be. Adrian reached for a folder on the glass coffee table. My lawyers have prepared everything. The prenuptial agreement protects both of us. After 1 year, we part ways. No claims on either side. The penthouse windows framed Chicago like a jewel box, but all Mia could focus on was the number on the contract. Enough money to save her sister's life, with 5 zeros to spare. What about? She hesitated. Everyone will expect us to be together. In every way. Adrian's jaw tightened. I don't expect anything physical, he stated, eyes not meeting hers. That part of the arrangement stays strictly on paper. His fingers brushed hers as he handed her a pen, sending an unexpected shiver up her arm. The ceremony will be private. Tomorrow evening. Just us, the officiant, and my lawyer as witness. Mia stared at the signature line, her future hanging in the balance. And if I say no, Adrian's expression remained neutral. Then I wish you and your sister the best of luck. My driver will take you wherever you need to go. Manipulative but honest. He knew she had no choice. Mia took the pen, its weight substantial in her hand. 1 year, she said, and then we never see each other again. He nodded once. Agreed. As she signed her name, Mia wondered which was more dangerous, the contract that now bound her to a stranger, or the unexpected flutter in her stomach when he smiled at her decision. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Cole, he said softly. The words sent a chill down her spine. What had she just done? What price would make you consider marrying a stranger? Would you sacrifice a year of freedom to change your family's life forever? Tell me in the comments what line you wouldn't cross, even for someone you love. She packed her life into one suitcase, telling herself this was just business, even as her heart raced whenever his text notifications appeared. Mia's apartment in Detroit felt smaller than she remembered. The peeling wallpaper and water stains on the ceiling had never bothered her before, but now, with a future of luxury looming, every crack seemed more pronounced. You're doing what? Her best friend Zoe demanded, watching Mia fold the few decent clothes she owned. Marrying some rich guy you literally just met? It's not like that, Mia said, though explaining made it sound exactly like that. It's a business arrangement. He needs a wife for legal reasons. I need money for Lily's treatment. Zoe's eyes narrowed. This sounds like the plot of a movie where the heroine ends up buried in concrete. Adrian's not like that. The defense came too quickly. He's complicated. You don't know what he is, Zoe countered. Nobody does. That's his whole thing, right? The mysterious billionaire. Mia zipped her suitcase with more force than necessary. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm asking you to check on Lily while I'm gone. Zoe's expression softened. Of course I will. But please be careful. Men like that aren't used to hearing no. At the hospital, explaining her sudden engagement to her sister proved easier than expected. Lily, pale against the white sheets, her once vibrant red hair now thin from treatments, simply smiled. You always did like to rescue people, Lily whispered, her voice weak. Just don't forget to rescue yourself sometimes. Mia clutched her sister's fragile hand. The Mayo Clinic already approved your transfer. Dr. Winters will oversee everything until you're strong enough to travel. Must be nice, Lily teased, having a billionaire fiancé. The word made Mia's stomach twist. It's not real, Lil. Maybe not for him. Lily's eyes were knowing. Just be careful not to fall for someone who's paying you not to. A soft knock interrupted them. Mia turned, expecting a nurse. Instead, Adrian Cole filled the doorway. He looked different here, more human somehow. His tailored suit replaced by dark jeans and a simple button-down, his expression almost uncertain as he took in the small hospital room. I hope I'm not intruding, he said. Mia stood, shock rendering her momentarily speechless. What are you doing here? Meeting my future sister-in-law. He stepped forward, extending a small gift bag to Lily. I thought you might like these. Lily opened the bag, pulling out wireless headphones. Noise canceling? Adrian nodded. Hospitals are never quiet when you need them to be. The simple thoughtfulness of the gesture caught Mia off guard. This wasn't in their contract. Lily studied him with the direct gaze that illness hadn't diminished. So you're the man buying my sister. Lily, Mia gasped. Adrian didn't flinch. I prefer to think of it as hiring her for a specialized position, one that happens to come with my last name. Lily's laugh turned into a cough. When she recovered, she fixed Adrian with a stern look. She's worth more than whatever you're paying. I'm well aware, he replied, his eyes finding Mia's. Something passed between them, acknowledgement perhaps, or understanding. The jet is ready whenever you are, Adrian said to Mia. Take as much time as you need. He left them alone, his tall frame disappearing down the corridor. Well, Lily said after a moment, he's not what I expected. Neither was the private jet waiting at the airport, or the way Adrian stood back while Mia said her final goodbyes to Zoe. "Remember," Zoe whispered fiercely, hugging her. "One text saying you're in trouble, and I'm calling the FBI, the CIA, and my cousin who does mixed martial arts." Mia laughed despite her nerves. "I'll be fine." As the jet lifted into the clouds, Adrian handed her a velvet box. "This belonged to my mother," he said, voice unexpectedly raw. "My father's lawyer will expect to see it on your finger tomorrow." The ring inside caught the light. A vintage emerald surrounded by diamonds, elegant without being flashy. "It's beautiful," Mia whispered, slipping it onto her finger. The weight felt foreign, like the reality of what she'd agreed to. Adrian watched her with an expression she couldn't read. "My mother was the only person who truly knew my father. After she died, he became different." The personal revelation hung between them. "Why did he put that clause in his will?" Mia asked. "Forcing you to marry?" Adrian looked out the window, jaw tight. "He believed I was incomplete without a partner, that I needed someone to humanize me." "And do you need humanizing?" His eyes met hers, startlingly vulnerable for just a moment. "I suppose we'll find out." The rest of the flight passed in silence, the emerald heavy on her finger, her future stretching before her like the clouds outside, shapeless, vast, and impossible to navigate. Have you ever left behind everything comfortable for a complete unknown? What would you say to explain a sudden engagement to a famous stranger? Share your thoughts below. She'd never slept in a house with more than 4 rooms. Now she was expected to navigate a mansion with a man who flinched when she came too close. The Seattle skyline faded behind them as Adrian's driver wound up the coastal road. Rain tapped against the windows, the Pacific Northwest welcoming Mia with its signature gray embrace. "The weather improves in summer," Adrian said, noticing her staring at the downpour. "I don't mind rain," Mia replied. "Makes everything feel clean." Adrian's phone hadn't stopped buzzing since they'd landed. Each time he checked it, his expression grew more tense. "Problem?" she asked. "My cousin." Adrian's voice hardened. "He's not taking the news of our marriage well. Shouldn't he be happy for you? Finding love so suddenly." The word love felt strange in her mouth, applied to their arrangement. Adrian's laugh held no humor. "Marcus has spent 10 years waiting for me to fail. My father's was his best chance yet." The car turned onto a private drive, tall pines creating a natural barrier from the outside world. When the trees parted, Mia couldn't hold back her gasp. The mansion rose from the cliffside like it had grown there, glass and steel embracing ancient trees, the Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly beyond, beautiful, remote, and as untouchable as its owner. "Home," Adrian said simply. A silver-haired woman waited under the covered entrance, her posture rigid, expression guarded. "Mrs. Peterson," Adrian nodded as they approached. "This is Mia." The housekeeper's eyes swept over Mia, taking in her worn jeans and simple sweater. "Welcome, Mrs. Cole," she said, the title sounding foreign to Mia's ears. "Your things have been placed in the master suite." Mia fought the urge to explain she had brought exactly 1 suitcase of things, hardly enough to fill what was surely a massive bedroom. The interior of the house matched its exterior, modern, minimal, with walls of glass framing the churning ocean below. Everything gleamed with quiet wealth, not ostentatious but unmistakably expensive. "I'll show you around," Adrian said, dismissing Mrs. Peterson with a nod. Each room revealed another facet of Adrian's isolated life. The state-of-the-art kitchen, where he admitted he rarely ate. The home gym he used at 5 a.m. daily. The library filled with books on technology, business, and, surprisingly, classical literature. "You read Austen?" Mia asked, spotting a collection of first editions. "My mother's influence," he replied, fingers brushing the spines, almost reverently. The tour ended at double doors at the end of a long hallway. "The master's suite," Adrian said, pushing them open. The bedroom was larger than Mia's entire apartment, dominated by a platform bed facing floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Rain streaked down the glass, creating the illusion they were underwater. "It's stunning," she whispered. "The bathroom is through there. Closet on the right." Adrian pointed, maintaining his distance. "Your clothes have been unpacked." Mia bit her lip. "About sleeping arrangements. I've prepared a room for myself down the hall," he said quickly. "This space is yours." Relief mingled with an emotion she refused to examine. "Thank you." An awkward silence fell between them. "Dinner is at 7, Adrian finally said. "Mrs. Peterson will help you with anything you need." He turned to leave, then paused. "Mia?" "Yes. I've arranged for Dr. Carson at Mayo Clinic to oversee your sister's case personally. He's the best in the field." The unexpected kindness caught her off guard. "Thank you." Adrian nodded once, then left her alone in the cavernous bedroom that was now, apparently, hers. Mia sank onto the edge of the bed, overwhelmed. 24 hours ago, she'd been in a cheap hotel room in Chicago. Now she was in a glass palace, wearing another woman's ring, preparing to marry a man who could barely look at her. After a long shower in a bathroom with more settings than her car, Mia wrapped herself in a plush robe and padded to the closet. Her meager collection of clothes hung forlornly among empty shelves and racks. "Mrs. Cole." Mia jumped at Mrs. Peterson's voice. "Sorry to startle you," the housekeeper said, though she didn't look particularly sorry. "Mr. Cole asked me to provide you with suitable attire for your circumstances." The pause spoke volumes. "My circumstances?" As his wife, Mrs. Peterson's emphasis made it clear what she thought of that title. "I've taken the liberty of ordering basics in your size. They'll arrive tomorrow. In the meantime," she gestured to a garment bag hanging on the door, "for dinner tonight." After the housekeeper left, Mia unzipped the bag to find a simple black dress. Expensive, judging by the label, but not flashy. Adrian had clearly communicated her preferences. At 7 sharp, Mia made her way to the dining room, following the sound of voices. She paused in the doorway, hearing Adrian's controlled tone. "My personal life is not your concern, Rebecca. Your sudden marriage is absolutely my concern," a woman replied. "The board is in panic mode. Marcus is threatening legal action. At least tell me you had her sign an ironclad prenup." Mia stepped into view, forcing a smile. "He did. No need to worry about the gold digger getting her hands on the family fortune." Rebecca, a sharp-featured woman in her 40s, had the grace to look embarrassed. "Mrs. Cole, I apologize. I didn't realize that I could hear you, or that I might understand big words like prenup." Mia's smile remained fixed. Adrian watched the exchange with an unreadable expression. "Rebecca Chun, my COO. Rebecca, my wife, Mia." The word wife hung in the air between them. After the housekeeper left, they settled at the enormous dining table, Rebecca peppering Mia with thinly veiled interrogation disguised as small talk. "And what exactly did you do in Detroit, Mia?" Rebecca asked, cutting her salmon with surgical precision. "I worked at Green's Cafe, managed their books, served tables when they were short-staffed." Rebecca's eyebrow arched. "How versatile." "Rebecca," Adrian warned. "It's fine," Mia said. "I'm sure everyone's curious how the waitress landed the billionaire." Rebecca set down her fork. "Adrian's company is poised for a major international expansion. The timing of this whirlwind romance raises questions. Questions you can address at the office," Adrian cut in. "Not at my dinner table." After an uncomfortable meal, Rebecca departed with a final, assessing glance at Mia. "I'm sorry about that," Adrian said when they were alone. "No, you're not," Mia replied. "You wanted to see how I'd handle it." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "And how did I do? Your COO thinks I'm after your money. Your housekeeper thinks I'm trash. And tomorrow I'm marrying a man who flinches when I get too close." Mia crossed her arms. "How do you think you did?" Adrian stepped closer, surprising her. "I think you handled Rebecca better than most of my board members. I think Mrs. Peterson will come around once she sees you're not temporary. And as for the flinching," he was near enough now that Mia could smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive. "That has nothing to do with you," he said quietly. "And everything to do with me." Before she could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. "What now?" Mia asked. "My cousin Marcus is coming for dinner tomorrow night." "After the wedding?" Adrian nodded, jaw tight. "He wants to meet my bride." Mia swallowed hard. "Is that a problem?" "Marcus doesn't just want my company. He wants to destroy everything my father built. Adrian's Eich mit Hirsch. And he'll use anyone, including you, to do it." After the housekeeper left, Adrian locked his office door with a quiet click. "The staff believes our story," he said, "but Marcus will be looking for any sign this isn't real." His eyes fell to her lips for just a moment. "We need to be convincing. Have you ever felt completely out of place, somewhere you were supposed to belong? How would you handle living with a stranger who's also supposed to be your fiancé? Comment bilo?" He taught her how to lie with her body, how to lean into him, how to touch his arm, how to make the world believe she'd conquered his legendary restraint. Again, Adrian said, his voice patient but firm, "You're overthinking it." Mia sighed, frustration mounting. They'd been practicing casual intimacy for an hour in his wood-paneled library, and nothing felt casual about it. "Normal couples don't rehearse how to touch each other," she pointed out. "Normal couples have history." Adrian ran a hand through his dark hair, messing its perfect arrangement. "We have 24 hours. The library's warm wood and leather formed a cocoon around them as they practiced the choreography of affection. His hand at the small of her back, her fingers brushing his sleeve, the delicate dance of two strangers pretending to be in love. "Try to relax," he said, positioning her beside him on the leather couch. "Your body tenses every time I touch you." "So does yours," she countered. A flash of surprise crossed his features. "You notice a lot." "I notice everything about you." The admission slipped out before she could stop it. "It's kind of my job now, isn't it?" Something shifted in his expression, a softening around the eyes, perhaps. "What else have you noticed?" Mia studied him, allowing herself really look for the first time. "You check your watch when you're uncomfortable. You never finish your food. You don't like being handed things directly." She hesitated. "And despite all your rules and boundaries, you've been nothing but kind about my sister." Adrian looked away, seemingly discomfited by her observations. "What about me?" she asked, curious now. "What have you noticed?" His eyes returned to her face, intense in their focus. "You curl your fingers when you're nervous. You touch your collarbone when you're thinking. You sleep with your door cracked open because you're afraid of the dark." Heat rushed to Mia's cheeks. "How did you—" "I notice everything too," he said simply. The admission hung between them, intimate in a way their practiced touches weren't. Adrian cleared his throat. "Let's try something else." He shifted closer on the couch, their knees almost touching. "When Marcus is here, he'll be watching for cracks. The way we look at each other matters more than words." "How am I supposed to look at you?" Mia asked, suddenly aware of how close he was. "Like you can't believe your luck," he said with a self-deprecating smile. "Like I'm worth giving up your freedom for." "And how will you look at me?" Adrian's smile faded. "Like you're the miracle I never expected." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. For a moment, neither spoke. "Show me," she finally whispered. Adrian held her gaze, and something in his expression transformed. The coolness melted away, replaced by naked wonder, as if he were seeing something precious and rare. His eyes softened, lips parted slightly, body leaning unconsciously toward hers. Mia's breath caught. If she didn't know better, she believed he was actually like that, he said, mask sliding back into place. "Convincing?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. "Good. Now we need to discuss the wedding. It'll be small, just us, the judge, and 2 witnesses. But it needs to look authentic." Mia twisted the emerald ring on her finger. "What about vows?" "Standard legal vows. Nothing personal." She frowned. "Won't that seem strange? A whirlwind romance with nothing personal." Adrian considered this. "What do you suggest?" "Something simple but specific. Details make lies believable." A hint of approval crossed his features. "Like what?" Mia thought for a moment. "Like how your eyes crinkle at the corners when you're genuinely amused. Or how you always check your security system twice before going to bed." "I don't do that," he protested. "Yes, you do. I heard you last night." Adrian stared at her, then shook his head with a reluctant smile. "Details. Exactly." He stood abruptly. "There's one more thing we need to practice." Mia looked up at him. "What?" "The kiss." Her heart stumbled. "Is that necessary?" "Marcus will expect it. The staff will expect it." Adrian's voice was matter-of-fact, but she noticed his hand check his watch. Uncomfortable. Better to practice than to seem awkward tomorrow. Mia stood, suddenly nervous. "Okay, how do we—" "Just follow my lead." Adrian stepped closer, one hand coming to rest lightly on her waist. "Remember, this is just rehearsal." He leaned down slowly, giving her time to adjust to his proximity. His free hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing her skin with unexpected gentleness. "Relax," he murmured, his breath warm against her lips. Then he closed the distance. His lips were hesitant at first, a scientist's careful approach, but when she sighed against his mouth, something shifted. His hands tightened at her waist, drawing her closer, as if by instinct rather than instruction. Mia's arms found their way around his neck, the practiced choreography forgotten as her body responded to his. The kiss deepened, neither of them following any script now. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder than they should have been, Adrian stepped back quickly. Too quickly. "That was—" he started. "Convincing," Mia supplied, trying to ignore the hammering of her heart. "Yes." He straightened his already straight shirt. "That should be sufficient." Sufficient. Like a passing grade on a test. The judge arrived at sunset the next day, just as the clouds parted to bathe the glass house in golden light. Mia wore a simple white dress that Mrs. Peterson had somehow procured overnight, her hair loose around her shoulders, a small bouquet of white roses in her hands. Adrian waited in the living room, tall and impossibly handsome in a charcoal suit. When he saw her, his practiced expression of adoration appeared, but something else flickered beneath it. Something unscripted. The ceremony was brief. They exchanged the simple, personal vows they'd crafted together. Mia mentioning his kindness toward her sister, Adrian speaking of her courage in facing a new life. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Adrian's kiss was gentle, almost reverent. It felt nothing like rehearsal. Rebecca, serving as witness alongside Mrs. Peterson, offered stiff congratulations. "The car will take you to the restaurant at 7, she reminded them. "Marcus is bringing his legal team, so be prepared." When everyone had gone, Mia and Adrian stood alone in the vast living room, the weight of the gold band now joining the emerald on her finger. "So," she said, "that happened." Adrian's laugh surprised her, genuine, almost boyish. "Yes, it did." He checked his watch. 2 hours until Marcus arrives. "Are you ready?" Mia smoothed her dress, thinking of the man waiting to tear apart their charade. "As ready as I'll ever be." Marcus's voice cut through the dinner party like a blade. "So tell us, Mia, how exactly did my cousin, who's never shown interest in anyone, suddenly fall madly in love with a girl from Detroit no one's ever heard of? When does pretending become real? Have you ever found yourself feeling something you were only supposed to act out? Share your experience." The cousin who wanted to steal Adrian's company knew exactly how to spot a liar. She just hadn't expected him to recognize her as a kindred spirit. Crystal clinked against china as Marcus leaned forward, his smile never reaching eyes that calculated and measured each word that passed between the happy couple, a predator sensing weakness. Marcus Cole had Adrian's height, but none of his restraint. Everything about him was just a bit too much. His laugh too loud, his watch too flashy, his attention too focused on Mia. Love at first sight? Marcus raised his glass. How wonderfully convenient. Just weeks before the deadline in Uncle Robert's will. Adrian's hand found Mia's under the table, a warning pressure against her fingers. Sometimes timing works out. Indeed, Marcus's smile tightened. "And how exactly did you two meet?" The society columns have been surprisingly quiet about Adrian Cole's whirlwind romance. Mia felt Adrian tense beside her. They practiced this, she reminded herself. Details make lies believable. I quite literally fell for him, Mia said, letting out an embarrassed laugh. Tripped and crashed into his table at Horizon in Chicago. Ruined a perfectly good bottle of wine. I offered to buy her a replacement drink. Adrian continued smoothly. She told me she preferred coffee. Bold move, Marcus said, eyes never leaving Mia, turning down Adrian's wine selection. I didn't know who he was, Mia admitted truthfully. I just knew he had kind eyes. Adrian's fingers tightened around hers. They hadn't rehearsed that line. Marcus's eyebrow arched. Kind eyes? My cousin. He laughed, turning to his companions. Two sharp-suited men who laughed on cue. The board of directors would certainly disagree. Brilliant, certainly. Ruthless, absolutely. But kind. His gaze slid to Adrian. That's a new one. Perhaps you don't know him as well as you think, Mia replied, feeling a genuine flash of protectiveness. Perhaps. Marcus took a long sip of wine. Tell me, Mia, what did you do in Detroit before you upgraded your circumstances? The condescension was unmistakable. Beside her, Adrian grew still, the dangerous kind of still that preceded action. I managed a cafe, Mia said, chin lifting, and cared for my sister. Ah, yes, the sister. Marcus nodded. Serious illness, I understand. Very expensive treatment. The room temperature seemed to drop. How did he know about Lily? Adrian's voice cut through the tension. My wife's family is my priority now, Marcus. Something you'd understand if you had anyone to care about besides yourself. The barb landed. Marcus's smile tightened. Family is precisely why I'm here, cousin. He set down his glass with exaggerated care. Uncle Robert wanted the company to stay in the family, with someone who shares his vision. His gaze shifted to Mia, not someone who would give it away to the first pretty face who tripped into his life. Adrian's hand moved to Mia's thigh under the table, a steadying presence. My father's vision was innovation with integrity, something you wouldn't recognize if it handed you a business card. The verbal volley continued through 3 courses, Marcus probing for weaknesses, Adrian deflecting with practiced ease. Mia felt like a pawn in a chess game played in a language she barely understood. So, Mia, Marcus said as dessert arrived, Adrian's never brought anyone to family events. Not even casual dates. Yet here you are, wife of the month. Wife for life. Actually, she corrected, leaning into Adrian's side. Of course. Marcus's smile turned predatory. Tell me, what was it like meeting Adrian's friends? His former companions? Mia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. They hadn't discussed Adrian's past. Adrian's arm slid around her shoulders. Mia knows everything about my past. Marcus, unlike you, I don't keep secrets from the people I love. The declaration hung in the air, bold and impossible to retract. Marcus studied them both, then shrugged elegantly. Well, this has been illuminating, but I should be going. He stood, his lawyers rising with him. Don't worry, cousin. The lawyers will verify your marriage meets all the requirements in Uncle Robert's will. His gaze lingered on Mia, down to the letter. After they'd gone, Rebecca appeared from the restaurant's private anteroom where she'd been monitoring the situation. That went better than expected, she said, though her expression remained concerned. Adrian's arm hadn't left Mia's shoulders. He knows something? He was too confident. Rebecca nodded. I'll have security increase surveillance. And Mia shouldn't be alone until we know what he's planning. Mia frowned. I can take care of myself. Not against Marcus, Adrian said, his voice low. He once ruined a rival by exposing his wife's past struggle with addiction. The man killed himself. Marcus sent flowers to the funeral. The drive home passed in tense silence. Adrian checking his phone repeatedly, his profile sharp against the passing streetlights. You did well tonight, he finally said as they pulled through the security gates. Marcus wasn't expecting someone who could stand up to him. Is that a compliment, Mr. Cole? Mia asked, trying to lighten the mood. The ghost of a smile touched his lips. Don't get used to it, Mrs. Cole. Inside, the house felt different. The glass walls that had seemed elegant now felt exposed, vulnerable to watching eyes. You should get some rest, Adrian said as they reached the bedroom hallway. It's been a long day. Mia nodded, suddenly exhausted. Good night, then. She was halfway to her door when his voice stopped her. Mia? She turned back. Thank you. For tonight. For all of this. Something about his vulnerability in that moment made her brave. She walked back to him and, before she could overthink it, rose on her toes to press a soft kiss to his cheek. That's what wives do, right? She whispered. Stand by their husbands. His expression was unreadable, but he didn't flinch away from her touch. Progress, she thought. In her room, Mia kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. She'd survived the wedding, the dinner, Marcus's interrogation. Maybe this charade could work after all. Her phone buzzed with a text notification. Unknown number. Beautiful wedding. Shame about the lies. Does Adrian know about the other Cole you've been talking to? Attached was a photo of her sister in Detroit, captioned simply, interesting family you've married into, cousin. Shall we dig deeper? Have you ever had to perform under pressure with everything at stake? What lengths would you go to protect someone who's protecting you? Let me know in the comments. He'd built a billion-dollar empire, but couldn't protect her from his past. A past he'd never shared with anyone until the night everything changed. Mia paced her bedroom, the threatening text message burning in her mind. How had Marcus found Lily? What did he mean about the other Cole? A knock at her door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Adrian stood in the hallway, his tie loosened, a tablet in his hand. We need to talk. In the library, he handed her the tablet. On screen was a hospital security feed showing a familiar figure at Lily's door. Marcus, when was this? Mia asked, her voice tight. 4 hours ago. Adrian ran a hand through his hair. He left without going in. Just wanted us to know he could. I got a text, Mia admitted, showing him her phone. He said something about the other Cole I've been talking to. I don't know what that means. Adrian's expression darkened. Dr. Winters. My sister's doctor? What about her? Her name is Caroline Winters Cole, Marcus's ex-wife. The revelation hit Mia like a physical blow. That's impossible. She's been Lily's doctor for years. Marcus plays the long game. Adrian set the tablet down. He must have placed her there when he learned about your sister's condition. But that would mean he's known about me, about us, before we even met. The implications turned Mia's blood cold. How could he possibly have predicted you'd choose me? Adrian's jaw tightened. He didn't. He was gathering leverage on multiple fronts. His eyes met hers. This isn't your fault, Mia. It feels like it is. She wrapped her arms around herself. What does he want? Control of Cole Industries. Power. Revenge. Adrian poured 2 glasses of scotch, offering her one. My father always favored me, though I never understood why. Thunder rumbled outside, the storm that had been threatening all evening finally breaking. Rain lashed against the windows, matching Mia's turbulent emotions. I've moved your sister to a different hospital wing with private security, Adrian said. No one gets in without biometric verification. The efficient protectiveness of the gesture touched Mia deeply. Thank you. They sat in silence for a moment, the storm growing fiercer. When lightning flashed, illuminating Adrian's face, Mia saw something there she hadn't before. Fear. What are you not telling me? She asked quietly. Adrian stared into his glass. Marcus isn't just after the company. He wants to destroy me. Personally. Why? Because I'm the reason his marriage ended. Mia waited, giving him space to continue. Caroline was brilliant, a medical prodigy. She developed groundbreaking treatment protocols. My company funded her research. Adrian's voice grew distant. Marcus saw her success as a threat to his masculinity. He became controlling, then abusive. That's awful. When I found out, I helped her leave him. Set up a new identity, new credentials. Funded her research privately. His knuckles whitened around his glass. Marcus never forgave me for interfering. When my father changed his will to include the marriage clause, Marcus must have seen his opportunity. Rain lashed against the windows as thunder shook the glass house. But inside, hunched before the fireplace, Adrian's whispered confessions created a different kind of storm, one that had been building inside him for decades. There's more, he said, so quietly Mia had to lean closer. About why I don't. Why I haven't. He couldn't finish the sentence, but Mia understood. The rumors. His reputation for avoiding relationships. You don't have to explain, she said gently. You don't. He met her eyes. If we're going to survive, Marcus, there can't be secrets between us. Adrian set down his glass and moved to stare out at the storm. His silhouette against the rain-streaked windows looked suddenly vulnerable. My mother died when I was 14. After that, my father became obsessed with the company, with legacy. The words came slowly, painfully. He had expectations about the kind of man I should become, the kind of relationships I should have. Mia waited, sensing they were approaching the heart of the matter. When I was 17, I fell in love with my roommate at boarding school. His name was Elliot. Adrian's voice grew distant. My father found out. He said Coleman weren't that way. He sent me to conversion therapy for a year. The admission hung in the air, heavy with decades of pain. Adrian, Mia whispered, her heart breaking for the boy he'd been. After that, I just shut down that part of myself, focused on business, built walls. He turned back to her, his expression raw. The rumors started because I never dated women. People assumed I wasn't interested in anyone. It was easier to let them think that than explain the truth. That your father tried to change who you are. Adrian nodded. The irony of his will requiring me to marry a woman. He was punishing you until the very end, Mia realized. Yes. Adrian's laugh held no humor. And now I've dragged you into it. Mia stood, moving to stand beside him at the window. You didn't drag me. I chose this. For your sister. Yes, initially. But now, she hesitated. Now I'm here because I want to help you fight back against Marcus. Against what your father did to you. Adrian studied her face as if searching for deception. Why would you do that? Because no one should be punished for who they are. She reached for his hand, half expecting him to pull away. He didn't. And because that's what friends do. Is that what we are? Friends. The question held vulnerability she'd never heard from him before. I like to think so. She squeezed his hand. Married friends in a very unique situation. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Unique is one word for it. Another crack of thunder shook the house, and the lights flickered once, twice, then went out. The storm had knocked out the power. In the sudden darkness, they stood closer than before, hands still connected. I should find candles, Adrian said, but made no move to release her. Adrian, Mia's voice was soft in the darkness. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. His fingers tightened around hers. No one's ever seen me, he admitted, voice rough. Not the real me. That's why the rumors started. It was easier to let people think I was incapable of wanting someone than to explain why I'm afraid to. The raw honesty of his confession moved her deeply. Without overthinking, Mia reached up, her fingers finding his face in the darkness, tracing the tension in his jaw. You don't have to be afraid with me, she whispered. When his eyes met hers, the raw need she saw there made her breath catch. This wasn't pretend anymore, and they both knew it. What would you do if someone trusted you with their deepest pain? How do you handle the responsibility of being the first person someone opens up to? Share your thoughts. The media called it the romance of the decade. Only they knew it was built on contracts and conditions that were crumbling with every genuine touch. Tech moguls' secret wedding shocks, Silicon Valley, screamed the headline on Mia's tablet. The photo below showed her and Adrian emerging from the coal industry's gala the previous night, his hand protectively at her waist, her face turned up to his with a smile that looked surprisingly genuine. 2 weeks had passed since Adrian's confession during the storm. 2 weeks of careful navigation around new boundaries, of learning to be married in public while remaining cautious allies in private. 2 weeks of Mia catching Adrian watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. The press loves you, Rebecca said, dropping a stack of magazines on the kitchen counter. Each cover featured some variation of their love story. The reclusive billionaire and the ordinary girl who'd captured his heart. They love a fairy tale, Mia corrected, scanning the headlines. From waitress to wealth. Beauty tames tech beast. It's ridiculous. It's working, Rebecca countered. Coal industry's stock is up 15%. The board is ecstatic. Even Marcus has been quiet. Too quiet, in Mia's opinion. His threat remained like a shadow over her thoughts, though Adrian's security team reported no unusual activity around Lily's hospital. The charity gala tonight is crucial, Rebecca continued, checking items off her ever-present tablet. The entire tech world will be watching. The foundation is announcing its new medical research grants. Mia nodded, trying to ignore the flutter of nerves. Each public appearance felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong move, one slip in their performance, and Marcus would pounce. "I had this delivered for you," Rebecca said, gesturing to a garment bag hanging by the door. Adrian approved the selection. Inside was a gown that took Mia's breath away. Deep emerald silk that would match her ring, with a neckline that draped elegantly and a slit that promised to be just the right side of daring. "It's stunning," she admitted. Rebecca's normally stern expression softened slightly. "For what it's worth, I was wrong about you. You've handled this situation with more grace than I expected." Coming from Rebecca, it was practically a declaration of friendship. That evening, when Mia descended the stairs in the emerald gown, Adrian's reaction made the hours of preparation worth it. He stood motionless at the bottom, his eyes traveling from her swept-up hair to the silver heels peeking from beneath the silk. He seemed to struggle for words. "Appropriate for a tech moguls wife?" she supplied with a small smile. "Beautiful," he finished simply. "Just beautiful." The compliment, free of any agenda, warmed her more than she cared to admit. Camera flashes exploded like stars around them as they descended the grand staircase at the gala venue, her borrowed diamonds catching fire in the light, his hand steady at her back. A perfect picture of love that was beginning to feel less like fiction with each passing day. "Everyone's staring," Mia murmured, smiling for the cameras. "At you," Adrian replied, his lips close to her ear. "Not us." The evening proceeded like a carefully choreographed dance. Adrian introduced her to tech pioneers and venture capitalists whose names she'd only seen in news articles. Mia charmed them with her genuine interest and quick wit, surprising even herself with how naturally she fit into this world that should have felt alien. "Your wife is delightful," an older woman in diamonds told Adrian. "So refreshing to meet someone real in this crowd of pretenders." Adrian's hand found the small of Mia's back, a touch that had become familiar. "I'm a lucky man." The words sounded sincere enough that Mia glanced up at him, caught off guard. His eyes met hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. Just part of the performance, she reminded herself. After dinner, Adrian took the stage to announce the Cole Foundation's latest initiative, a $50 million grant program for rare disease research. As he spoke passionately about increasing access to experimental treatments, Mia realized he'd structured the program to directly benefit patients like Lily. He'd done that for her, without being asked. When he returned to their table, she impulsively reached for his hand under the tablecloth. He looked surprised but didn't pull away. "Thank you," she whispered, "for what you're doing for patients like Lily." His fingers tightened around hers. "It's the right thing to do." "Still, thank you." Something shifted between them in that moment. A recognition that whatever this arrangement had started as, it had evolved into something neither had anticipated. Later, as the event wound down, Mia excused herself to the ladies' room. As she washed her hands, she studied her reflection. She looked different somehow, more confident, less afraid. The bathroom door opened, and a woman Mia recognized as a tech CEO's wife entered. "So you're the miracle worker," the woman said, applying fresh lipstick. "Excuse me." The woman who melted the Ice King. She capped her lipstick. "Everyone's been wondering what your secret is." Mia smiled politely. "No secret, just lucky timing." The woman's gaze was skeptical. "Just between us girls, the rumors about Adrian. About his preferences. Are they true?" The question hit like a slap. Mia thought of Adrian's painful confession, his father's cruelty, the walls he'd built to protect himself. "The only rumor that's true," Mia said, her voice cool, "is that my husband is an intensely private person who deserves respect, not gossip." "Excuse me." She left the woman staring after her, returning to Adrian with her head high. "Everything okay?" he asked, noting her expression. "Perfect," she replied, taking his arm. "Just reminding myself why I fell for you." His eyes warmed with something that looked dangerously like affection. In the limousine afterward, the privacy screen rose with a soft hum, and suddenly they were alone, her gown bunched between them, his bow tie loosened by her eager fingers. "We're not being watched now," she breathed against his neck. "We don't have to pretend." His response was to capture her mouth with a hunger that had nothing to do with their arrangement. The kiss was different from their rehearsed ones, deeper, more urgent. Mia found herself pressed against the leather seat, Adrian's body solid and warm against hers, his hands threading through her carefully arranged hair. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, confusion flashed across his face. "I'm sorry," he said, putting distance between them. "I shouldn't have." "Don't apologize," Mia interrupted. "Unless you didn't want to do that." "That's not." He ran a hand through his hair. "This isn't part of our agreement. Maybe the agreement needs updating." Adrian looked at her for a long moment. "Mia, I don't want to confuse things between us." "Things are already confused," she pointed out. "Have been since the beginning." Before he could respond, her phone rang. The display showed the Detroit area code. "It's Lily's hospital," she said, fumbling to answer. The doctor's voice was grave. "Mrs. Cole, your sister has taken a turn for the worse. The experimental treatment isn't working as we'd hoped." The world seemed to tilt. "How bad is it? You should come as soon as possible." Mia ended the call, her hands shaking. "Lily's worse. They want me to come right away." Without hesitation, Adrian pressed the intercom. "Take us to the airport and call the pilot. Prep the jet for Detroit." As tears streamed down her face, Adrian made a decision that would break their contract in ways neither had anticipated. "Pack a bag. We're going to Detroit tonight. When have you found yourself crossing a line you promised you wouldn't cross? Was it worth it? Tell me your story in the comments." She brought the billionaire back to her world of hospital waiting rooms and overdue bills, and watched as he fought for her family like they were his own. Detroit looked exactly as Mia had left it, yet somehow smaller. The familiar skyline, the streets she'd walked thousands of times, all of it seemed compressed, diminished after the expansiveness of Adrian's world. The hospital corridor's harsh fluorescence stripped away all pretense. No mansions, no contracts, just Adrian's rumpled shirt as he argued with administrators, paced beside her through the night, and held her hand when words failed. "Her kidneys are failing," Dr. Montgomery explained, having taken over Lily's care after Adrian had Dr. Winters removed from the case. The experimental treatment damaged them more severely than anticipated. Mia sank into the molded plastic chair, the same one she'd sat in countless times before. "What are our options?" "She needs a transplant. Soon." The doctor's expression was grave. "She's on the list, but with her blood type and condition." He didn't need to finish. The odds weren't good. Adrian, who'd been silently absorbing the information, spoke up. "What about a living donor?" "Immediate family would be ideal," Dr. Montgomery nodded. "Siblings often match well." Mia's heart leapt. "Test me. Today. We'll need to run compatibility tests, tissue typing." "Do it," Adrian interrupted. "Whatever it costs, whatever specialists you need. Make it happen." The doctor blinked at the authority in Adrian's voice. "Mr. Cole, even with your resources, medical protocols can't be." "Test my wife today," Adrian repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "And test me as well." Mia turned to him, stunned. "Adrian, you don't have to. We're family now," he said simply. The words, spoken in this sterile corridor, so far from the glass house where their arrangement began, carried a weight neither had anticipated. Hours blurred into days. Mia moved mechanically between Lily's room and the waiting area, catching sleep in short bursts, eating only when Adrian pressed food into her hands. He never left. Not for meetings, not for the company that had been the center of his existence. Rebecca called again. Mia told him on the third night, finding him staring out the waiting room window at the Detroit skyline. "The board needs decisions on the Singapore expansion." Adrian didn't turn. "It can wait." Your whole life is that company. Not anymore. He finally faced her, shadows under his eyes matching her own. Some things matter more. The simple declaration hung between them, shifting the foundation of their understanding. Zoe visited daily, bringing fresh clothes and hometown gossip to distract them. She studied Adrian with open curiosity. "So you're the billionaire," she said the first time they met, arms crossed defensively. "And you're the best friend," he replied evenly. "Hurt her, and they'll never find your body." To Mia's surprise, Adrian smiled, a genuine, unguarded expression. "I believe you." Zoe's stance softened slightly. "Good." She returned the next day with Adrian's favorite coffee order memorized. On the fourth day, Dr. Montgomery found them in Lily's room, where Mia was reading aloud while Adrian worked quietly on his laptop. "We have the test results," he said. Mia's heart pounded. "Am I a match?" The doctor hesitated. "You're a partial match. Not ideal, given your sister's condition." Hope deflated in her chest. "What does that mean?" "It means we need to continue aggressive anti-rejection protocols, which your system may not tolerate." Adrian set his laptop aside. "And me?" Dr. Montgomery looked surprised. "Mr. Cole, the odds of a non-relative matching are extremely." "But you tested me anyway," Adrian pressed. "Yes." The doctor checked his chart. "And remarkably, you're a better match than Mrs. Cole. Nearly perfect, in fact. It's quite unusual." The room went silent. "I'll do it," Adrian said immediately. "Adrian," Mia protested, "you can't just—" "I can and I will." His decision was made. Schedule the surgery. After the doctor left, Mia confronted him in the hallway. "This is crazy. You barely know Lily. You barely know me." "I know enough." Adrian's voice was calm, resolute. "I know she's your world. I know you'd do anything for her. And I know I'm in a position to help." "This isn't in our contract," she whispered fiercely. "To hell with the contract." His eyes held hers. "This isn't about business, Mia. This is about doing what's right." Before she could respond, a nurse called her back to Lily's room. Her sister had woken up and was asking for her. Lily looked ghostly against the white sheets, her vibrant spirit dimmed by illness. But her eyes brightened when Mia entered. "There's my favorite fake wife," she teased weakly. Mia forced a laugh, taking her hand. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've been hit by a truck." Lily glanced toward the door. "Your husband's still here? He hasn't left." "Interesting." Despite her condition, Lily's perception remained sharp. For someone in a business arrangement, he seems pretty invested. "He's a good man," Mia admitted. "Better than I expected." And Lily pressed. "And nothing. It's complicated." "Life is complicated, Mia. Feelings shouldn't be." Lily squeezed her hand. "I see how you look at him." Mia shook her head. "It doesn't matter how I look at him. This is temporary." "Is it?" Lily raised an eyebrow. "Because donating a kidney isn't exactly temporary." The truth of this statement hit Mia hard. What Adrian was offering went beyond their agreement, beyond obligation, beyond anything she could have expected. Later, she found him in the hospital chapel. Not praying, just sitting in the quiet, his normally perfect posture slumped with exhaustion. "You should get some rest," she said, sliding into the pew beside him. "So should you." Neither moved. "Why are you doing this?" Mia finally asked. "The truth, Adrian." He stared at the simple wooden cross at the front of the chapel. "When my mother was dying, my father threw money at the problem, best doctors, experimental treatments, private nurses. But he never sat with her, never held her hand, never showed up in the ways that mattered." Adrian turned to her, his eyes vulnerable in the chapel's dim light. "I don't want to be the kind of man." The raw honesty of his answer broke something in Mia. A wall she'd built around her heart since the day she'd signed his contract. Without thinking, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. Unlike their practiced kisses or the heated moment in the limo, this kiss was pure gratitude, pure connection. Adrian's hand came up to cup her face, his touch gentle as if she might break. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. "Mia, thank you," she whispered. "For being here, for Lily, for everything." They sat in the chapel's hushed silence, hands intertwined, the boundaries of their arrangement blurring with each passing hour. The surgery was scheduled for the following morning. As Lily was prepped, Mia alternated between her sister's room and Adrian's, feeling torn between the two people who now meant everything to her. "Don't look so worried," Adrian told her as a nurse checked his vitals. "This is a routine procedure." "There's nothing routine about you giving my sister your kidney," Mia replied, trying to keep her voice light. "Consider it an anniversary gift." His attempt at humor made her smile despite her anxiety. As the orderlies came to take him to surgery, Adrian reached for her hand. "Mia, if anything happens, nothing's going to happen," she interrupted firmly. "If it does," he continued, "know that I don't regret any of this. Not one moment since you fell into my life." The simple sincerity of his words brought tears to her eyes. Hours later, as her sister's condition stabilized, Mia found Adrian asleep in the recovery room, his phone lighting up with messages, including one from his lawyer: "Contract breach. Return immediately or deal is void." She realized with sinking clarity that by coming to Detroit, by prioritizing her family over his company, he might have just sacrificed everything. Have you ever seen someone in a completely different light when they entered your world? When did you realize someone cared about you for real? Share below. He chose her family over his company, her heart over his inheritance. Now she had to decide if she was brave enough to choose him over the safety of their contract. 3 days after the surgery, both Adrian and Lily were recovering well. The doctors called it a medical miracle. The kidney had taken perfectly, Lily's body accepting the transplant as if it had been waiting for it. "You look better," Mia told her sister, arranging fresh flowers beside her bed. "I feel better." Lily's cheeks had color for the first time in months. "How's your husband doing?" "Restless. The doctors want him to stay another day, but he's already on conference calls." Lily studied her. "You still haven't told me what happened to change things between you two." Mia busied herself with the flowers. "Nothing's changed." "Mia." Lily's voice was gentle but firm. "The man gave me his kidney. That goes way beyond a business arrangement." Before Mia could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. "Board meeting emergency session. Marcus making his move. Adrian needs to return now." Mia's stomach dropped. She'd been avoiding thoughts of Seattle, of contracts and lawyers in Adrian's company. Here in Detroit, in the cocoon of the hospital, their marriage had felt almost real. In Adrian's room, she found him sitting up in bed, looking remarkably composed for a man who'd had major surgery days earlier. "You saw Rebecca's message," he said, noting her expression. "You have to go back." He nodded. "The lawyers say Marcus is challenging the validity of our marriage based on my absence from the company. Can he do that?" "My father's will specified I must be actively leading the company while married." Adrian's jaw tightened. "A detail I overlooked. So if you don't go back, I lose everything." The weight of those words hung between them. Everything he'd built, everything he'd fought for. "Then we'll go," Mia said decisively. "Today." Adrian's eyes softened. "Lily is stable, improving, and has Zoe." Mia sat on the edge of his bed. "You risked everything for my family. Now it's my turn." His hand found hers, warm and solid. "This isn't your fight, isn't it?" She squeezed his fingers. "I signed a contract, remember? To be your wife, for better or worse." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Those weren't the vows we used. Maybe they should have been." The private jet departed that afternoon, Adrian moving carefully, still healing. Mia watched Detroit disappear beneath them, feeling a strange sense of displacement. The city that had defined her entire life now seemed like just one chapter in a larger story. "What happens when we land?" she asked. Adrian's expression was grim. "We meet with the lawyers, present a united front to the board, convince them our marriage is solid and my brief absence was a family emergency, not abandonment of my duties. Will they believe that? They'll believe what they can see." His eyes met hers. "That's where you come in." The lawyer's office gleamed with cold precision, legal documents spread across mahogany like the remnants of a battlefield. Their arrangement dissected into clauses and violations that couldn't begin to capture what had grown between them. The will's language is problematic, Howard Jensen, Adrian's family attorney, explained. It requires a committed marital partnership with shared domestic life, while Adrian maintains leadership of coal industries, which we have, Mia stated firmly. The lawyer's expression remained neutral. Marcus's team argues that Adrian's extended absence during a critical business period, combined with the suspicious timing of the marriage itself, indicates a paper arrangement rather than a genuine union. "I gave my sister-in-law a kidney," Adrian said flatly. "Is that committed enough?" Jensen shuffled his papers. "Medically admirable, yes. Legally, it complicates things. It could be interpreted as further evidence of a non-traditional arrangement." Mia's patience snapped. "What exactly does Marcus want? Just say it plainly." "He wants Adrian to admit the marriage is fraudulent, to void himself on record." Jensen looked uncomfortable. "He's offering a compromise, step down as CEO, but remain on the board, with a significant financial package." "A golden parachute," Adrian scoffed, "while he dismantles everything my father built. And if we refuse, he'll take it to court, make public Adrian's personal history. Use your backgrounds against you both." The threat hung in the air. Adrian's sexuality, Mia's financial struggles, their private lives exposed and weaponized. "We need to discuss this," Adrian told the lawyer. Alone, in the car afterward, silence stretched between them, each lost in thought. "He can't win," Mia finally said. "We won't let him." Adrian stared out the window. "Maybe he already has. Maybe my father won from beyond the grave, forcing me to choose between who I am and what I've built." "No." Mia's voice was fierce. "Your father doesn't get to win. Neither does Marcus." When they arrived home, the glass house felt cold, uninviting. Evidence of their hasty departure remained. Coffee cups in the sink, mail piled on the counter. Adrian moved stiffly to the living room, the surgery still taking its toll. Mia followed, watching as he poured himself a drink with careful movements. "I should have told you everything from the beginning," he said. "About my father, about Marcus. You deserve to know what you were getting into. Would I have believed you? A strange man offering millions for a fake marriage." Mia smiled faintly. "Some things you have to experience to understand." Adrian studied her over his glass. "And now that you understand? Now that you've seen what my world is really like?" The question hung between them, loaded with meaning beyond the words themselves. "Now I think we should fight back," Mia said. Together, something shifted in Adrian's expression. Relief, perhaps, or hope. "Marcus expects me to fold," he said, "to protect my privacy at all costs. Then we do the opposite." Mia stepped closer. "We become so publicly, obviously in love that no one questions us. We take away his ammunition. In my privacy, we control the narrative. Share your story on your terms, not his." Adrian considered this, turning his glass in his hands. "It will mean more public appearances, more scrutiny. I'll be with you." The words came easily, naturally, every step. His eyes found hers, searching. "Why would you do that, Mia? Our contract doesn't require any of this." The question deserved an honest answer, one she'd been avoiding since Detroit. "Because somewhere between signing that contract and watching you give my sister a second chance at life, things changed." Her voice softened. "I changed." Adrian set down his glass and moved toward her, wincing slightly from his healing incision. His hands came up to frame her face, his touch gentle but certain. "I don't want to pretend anymore," she breathed against his skin. His response was to lift her against the wall, hands trembling not with inexperience, but with the weight of finally allowing himself to feel. Their coming together was nothing like their practiced kisses or public performances. This was raw, honest, years of Adrian's carefully constructed walls crumbling under her touch. Mia's fingers traced the bandage on his side, a physical reminder of his sacrifice for her family. "Are you sure?" he whispered against her neck. "This changes everything." "I'm counting on it," she replied, pulling him closer. They'd barely made it to the bedroom, clothing discarded along the hallway. Every touch felt like a confession, every kiss a promise neither had intended to make, but both now desperately wanted to keep. Afterward, wrapped in tangled sheets as dawn broke, Adrian's confession came softly. "I've never been with anyone before you. The vulnerability in those words stole Mia's breath. Not just physically, she'd known that from their contract discussions, but emotionally, completely. Adrian, she began, but was interrupted by the harsh buzz of the security system. Adrian tensed, reaching for his phone. The security feed showed a car at the gate, Marcus, with what looked like a news van behind him. "He's here," Adrian said grimly. "With reporters." Mia sat up, clutching the sheet. "How did he know we were back?" "He's been watching." Adrian pulled on his clothes with careful movements. "This is it, Mia. Whatever happens next, we face it together," she finished for him. Before he could respond, his phone rang. Rebecca, her voice tight with urgency. "Adrian, he's got documents. Legal papers claiming breach of contract on the will's terms. He's talking to the press right now." Adrian's expression hardened. "Tell security to keep them at the gate. We're coming out." As he ended the call, he turned to Mia, a question in his eyes. "No more hiding," she said, answering his unspoken thought. "No more pretending." His smile was small but genuine. "No more contracts. Just us." Mia agreed, taking his hand. "Whatever comes next." "What would you risk for love? Your career? Your security? Your carefully built walls? Tell me what you think is worth sacrificing everything for." Their fake engagement made headlines, but the truth about his past and her family threatened to destroy more than just their arrangement. From the bedroom window, Mia could see the growing media circus at the gate. 3 news vans had joined the first, and reporters clustered like hungry wolves, cameras pointed toward the house. "What's the plan?" she asked, pulling on jeans and a sweater. Adrian finished buttoning his shirt, movements careful around his healing incision. "Rebecca's calling an emergency board meeting for noon. Before that, we need to address the press." "And say what exactly?" "The truth." His eyes met hers, or at least a version of it they can understand. News helicopters circled the estate like vultures, headlines screaming across every screen, the private world suddenly exposed to judgment and speculation. Yet within the storm, they found themselves standing together rather than apart. Rebecca arrived through the service entrance, bypassing the media frenzy. Her normally perfect appearance looked strained, hair pulled back severely, tablet clutched like a shield. "Marcus is claiming your marriage violated the terms of the will," she reported without preamble. "He says you abandoned the company during a critical period and that the entire union was orchestrated to technically fulfill your father's requirements without honoring their spirit. What evidence does he have?" Adrian asked. Rebecca looked uncomfortable. "He has a copy of the prenuptial agreement with the termination clause highlighted." And she hesitated. "What else?" "Mia Prest. Medical records from Lily's hospital, showing your connection to Dr. Winters." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Obtained illegally, I'm sure. The press doesn't care about legality. They care about the story." Rebecca turned to Mia. "And right now, the story is that Adrian married a desperate woman whose sister was being treated by his cousin's ex-wife. The implications hung heavy in the air. We need to change the narrative," Mia said, mind racing. "Beat him at his own game." Adrian nodded slowly. "You're right." He turned to Rebecca. "Call Diane Powell, the Times reporter." Rebecca looked startled. "She's been trying to get an exclusive with you for years." "Exactly. Tell her she has 30 minutes with us here before the board meeting." Adrian's expression was resolute. "It's time to tell our story our way." As Rebecca made the call, Mia touched Adrian's arm. "Are you sure about this? Once it's out there, I'm done letting fear of exposure control my life." He covered her hand with his. "My father did that. Marcus is trying to do the same. It ends today." Diane Powell arrived 15 minutes later, escorted through the sea of reporters by security. She was younger than Mia expected, with sharp eyes that missed nothing as she entered the living room. "Mr. Cole," she said, extending her hand. "I've been requesting this interview for 3 years. I appreciate your persistence," Adrian replied, gesturing to the couch, "and your discretion in coming on short notice. When a media-shy billionaire suddenly wants to talk, I listen." Her gaze shifted to Mia. "Mrs. Cole, I presume?" The woman who accomplished what Seattle's most eligible bachelorettes could not. Mia smiled tightly. I'm more interested in discussing who's trying to destroy my husband's company than my dating techniques. Diane's eyebrows rose appreciatively. She set up her recorder on the coffee table. So, why now, Mr. Cole? Why invite me in when your cousin is outside telling anyone who will listen that your marriage is a sham? Because lies thrive in darkness, Adrian said simply. And I'm tired of shadows. What followed was unlike any interview Mia could have imagined. Adrian spoke candidly about his father's controlling nature, the pressure of legacy, and the will's marriage clause, though he carefully framed their meeting as fortunate timing rather than deliberate arrangement. In your extended absence from the company? Diane asked, during what financial analysts call a critical expansion period. Mia answered before Adrian could. My sister needed a kidney transplant. Adrian was a match. The choice was simple. Diane's professional detachment slipped. You donated an organ to your sister-in-law. Family comes first, Adrian said, his hand finding Mia's. Something my father never understood. The reporter studied them both, clearly reassessing her angle. There are rumors, Mr. Cole, about your personal life before marriage. About why someone with your wealth and position remained single for so long. Here it was, the moment of truth. Mia felt Adrian tense beside her. My father had very specific ideas about what made a Cole man, he said carefully. When I was younger, I didn't match his blueprint. He took extreme measures to try to change that. You're referring to conversion therapy, Diane stated, not a question. Adrian nodded once. I was 17. After that experience, relationships of any kind felt unsafe. Until Mia, Diane supplied. Adrian's eyes found Mia's, unexpectedly vulnerable. Until Mia, the sincerity in his voice couldn't be faked. Even Diane seemed moved. Your cousin is suggesting your hasty marriage was purely to satisfy inheritance requirements, she said, returning to her notes. Your response? Marcus has wanted control of Cole Industries since we were children, Adrian replied. He'll say anything to get it, including exploiting my personal history and Mia's family medical situation, which he helped orchestrate. Mia added, the pieces finally connecting. Dr. Winters was placed in my sister's care years ago. This wasn't opportunistic, it was a long game. Diane's eyes widened at this new angle. You're suggesting Marcus Cole deliberately targeted your family before you even met Adrian? Check the hospital records, Mia challenged. Dr. Caroline Winters Cole became my sister's physician 3 weeks after Adrian's father changed his will. 3 years before Adrian and I met. Mrs. Cole, she greeted Mia. This is unexpected. I thought we should talk, woman to woman. They sat in the hotel's empty restaurant, 2 cups of coffee between them, like neutral territory. How long have you known about me? Mia asked directly. About my sister? Amanda's perfectly manicured hands wrapped around her cup. I treated Lily for 3 years before Dr. Winters took over her case. I knew your financial struggles, your dedication to your sister. And when did you learn about Adrian? About the will. 6 months ago, Marcus approached me. Amanda's expression was carefully neutral. He explained Adrian's situation and suggested I might be the solution. A medically focused wife for a medically focused company. And you agreed? Just like that. I agreed to a dinner, Amanda corrected, to see if there might be compatibility. Nothing more. Mia studied the woman across from her. Confident, accomplished, everything Mia wasn't. When you saw Adrian with me that night, why didn't you interrupt? Something flickered across Amanda's perfect features. Regret, perhaps. Because I recognized the look on his face. He was genuinely interested in you. I'd never seen that expression when he was forced to interact with women at functions. The admission was unexpected. Adrian deserved a chance at something real, Amanda continued, even if it complicated Marcus's plans. Did you know what Marcus was planning? How he was using you? Not initially. Amanda's composure slipped slightly. I thought I was helping Adrian meet his father's requirements. It wasn't until after your marriage that Marcus revealed his true intentions, which were to destroy Adrian, to prove he'd marry anyone, she stopped herself. Even a waitress from Detroit, Mia finished. With a sick sister and empty bank account, Amanda had the grace to look uncomfortable. Marcus is vindictive in ways I never anticipated. When I realized what he was doing, I refused to participate further. Until last night, he threatened my medical license, Amanda admitted, claimed he had evidence I'd falsified research data. It wasn't true, but the investigation alone would destroy my career. As the truth unraveled between them, that Dr. Winters had been Marcus's plant all along, positioned in Mia's life years ago as part of a long game. Adrian's phone lit up with an alert that froze his blood. Someone had just transferred ownership of his entire company, using access only a spouse would have. Mia returned to the house to find it in chaos. Security teams swarmed the property. Rebecca shouted into 2 phones simultaneously, and Adrian stood in his office, face ashen. "What's happened?" Mia asked, fear gripping her chest. Adrian turned to her, expression unreadable. Someone initiated a transfer of controlling interest in coal industries to an offshore account, using access codes only available to family members. The implication hung in the air between them. "You think I did this?" Mia whispered, disbelief and hurt washing over her. "The system logs show the access came from your credentials," Rebecca said, her tone accusatory. "Created last night after you signed the new marriage agreement." "That's impossible. I haven't accessed any company's systems." Adrian's voice was carefully controlled. "The transfer is still processing. We have 12 hours to reverse it before it's complete." "Adrian," Mia stepped toward him, heart pounding. "You can't believe I would do this." His expression remained guarded. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Everything. Our meeting, your sister's doctors, even last night's confrontation. It's all been part of Marcus's plan." "Not everything," Mia insisted, reaching for his hand. He didn't pull away, but neither did he return her grip. "What happened between us was real." Adrian's phone rang. "Marcus," the display announced. "Put it on speaker," Mia demanded. Marcus's voice filled the room, smooth with victory. "I see you've discovered the transfer. Elegant, isn't it? Your own wife signing away your birthright." "I didn't do this," Mia said firmly. "Of course you didn't, my dear. Not knowingly." Marcus's laugh was cold. "But that signature last night, on the new marriage documents? It included authorization codes embedded in digital ink. Technology from Adrian's own security division, ironically." Adrian's expression darkened. "You forged transfer documents using our digital signature technology." "Not forged. Legally obtained through your wife's legitimate signature. The beauty is it's completely binding." "We'll fight this," Adrian warned. "You could try," Marcus agreed. "But by this time tomorrow, I'll control coal industries." "And the first order of business?" "Investigating your fraudulent marriage and the suspicious coincidences surrounding your wife's family." The call ended, leaving silence in its wake. He planned this from the beginning, Adrian realized. The marriage clause, Dr. Winters, Amanda, all of it leading to last night. He needed us to sign new documents to get access to the transfer codes. "We can prove the signature was obtained through deception," Rebecca insisted, already dialing their lawyers. But Mia barely heard her. She was watching Adrian, waiting for him to meet her eyes, to show some sign that he didn't believe she was part of this. "Adrian," she said softly, "look at me." When he finally did, she saw doubt clouding his eyes. Doubt about her, about them, about everything they'd built. "Did you know?" he asked, voice low. "Any of it?" The question cut deeper than any accusation could have. "Have you ever discovered a connection that made you question everything you believed about a relationship? How do you trust again after feeling like someone's second choice? Tell me your experience." Their wedding night turned into a nightmare of accusations. His company stolen, her loyalty questioned, and the truth more twisted than either could have imagined. The glass house that had become their sanctuary now felt like a prison, security teams combing through every system. Their newly spoken vows stretched thin across a chasm of doubt that widened with each unanswered question. "I need to know everything," Adrian said, his voice controlled but tense. "Every connection to Marcus, to Dr. Winters, to Amanda. Everything." They sat in his home office, Rebecca, and the security chief standing nearby, the atmosphere heavy with suspicion. "I've told you everything I know," Mia insisted. "I had no idea Dr. Winters was connected to Marcus until you told me. I never met Amanda Brooks before last night. But she was your sister's doctor," Rebecca pressed. "For years, along with half a dozen other specialists." Mia's frustration bubbled over. "Lily's been sick most of her life. We've seen countless doctors." Adrian paced by the windows, the ocean beyond dark and restless like his thoughts. "The timing is too perfect. The charity auction ticket that brought you to that restaurant. Your sister's worsening condition coinciding with my deadline. Your perfect match as a kidney donor." Each coincidence laid out sounded damning, even to Mia's ears. "Do you honestly believe I've been plotting against you for years?" she asked quietly. "That I orchestrated falling into your table? That I somehow knew you'd offer me a contract marriage?" "Of course not," Adrian said, though his tone lacked conviction. "But Marcus has been planning this for years. He could have positioned you without your knowledge." The implication that she was either a conspirator or a pawn stung equally. "I think," Rebecca interjected, "we should focus on reversing the transfer. We have," she checked her watch, 10 hours before it's complete. "I'll call Judge Hamilton," the security chief suggested. "Get an emergency injunction based on fraudulent signature capture." As they strategized, Mia felt increasingly sidelined. The team spoke around her about her, but not to her. Even Adrian's glances held reservations where once there had been trust. "I need some air," she announced, standing abruptly. No one tried to stop her. Outside, the night air carried the scent of salt and pine. Mia wrapped her arms around herself, the events of the past months spinning through her mind like a fever dream. Had any of it been real? Or had she been manipulated from the start? A chess piece, moved by Marcus's invisible hand? The weight of Adrian's doubt hurt most of all. After everything they'd shared, Detroit, the surgery, the emotional barriers breached, he still didn't trust her completely. "Mrs. Cole." Mia turned to find Mrs. Peterson standing in the garden path, her usual stern expression softened by concern. "Are you all right?" The housekeeper asked. "You shouldn't be outside alone. Security protocols." "I'm fine," Mia cut her off. "Just needed to breathe." Mrs. Peterson hesitated, then said, "I prepared the guest room for you. I thought perhaps, given the circumstances." The assumption that she and Adrian would sleep separately stung. "Thank you, but that won't be necessary." The older woman nodded stiffly. "As you wish." She turned to go, then paused. "For what it's worth, Mrs. Cole, I've worked for the family for 30 years. I've never seen Mr. Cole look at anyone the way he looks at you." The unexpected comment brought tears to Mia's eyes. "Even now, when he thinks I might have betrayed him." "Especially now," Mrs. Peterson replied, "because it's hurting him to doubt you." When Mia returned inside, the strategy session had expanded to include lawyers on video conference. Adrian looked up when she entered, his expression unreadable. "We have a plan," he said. "The lawyers are filing for an emergency hearing with a federal judge." The signature capture was clearly fraudulent. Mia nodded. "Good." An uncomfortable silence fell between them. "I'd like to help," she said finally. "This affects me too." Adrian seemed about to respond when Rebecca's phone rang. Her face paled as she listened. "What now?" Adrian asked when she hung up. "Marcus has released documents to the press. Financial records showing transfers from one of your shell companies to Lily's medical care, dating back 3 years. "That's impossible," Adrian said. "I never." "They're forgeries," Rebecca confirmed, "but very good ones. The narrative is that you've been financially involved with Mia's family for years, orchestrating your own convenient marriage." "He's turning all around," Mia realized, "making it look like you were the manipulator." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Using the company's reputation against us." "The hearing is scheduled for 9 a.m., the lead lawyer announced from the video screen. "But with these new allegations." "We'll be there," Adrian said firmly, ending the call. As the team dispersed to prepare documentation, Adrian and Mia found themselves alone for the first time in hours. "I didn't do this," she said quietly. "I need you to believe that." Adrian rubbed his temples, looking exhausted. I want to, but Marcus has been 3 steps ahead at every turn. I can't afford to miss anything, including the possibility that your wife is part of his scheme. His silence was answer enough. I see. Mia's voice was steady despite the pain lancing through her. Then I'll make this easy for you. She pulled the emerald ring from her finger, setting it gently on his desk. Consider our arrangement terminated. Adrian stared at the ring, something flickering in his eyes. Mia. No. She stepped back. I won't stay where I'm not trusted. I've spent my life fighting to prove my worth. I won't do it in my marriage. Where will you go? Back to Detroit. To Lily. She met his gaze squarely. I'll attend the hearing tomorrow. I'll tell the judge exactly what happened. But after that, we're done. She turned to leave, each step away from him physically painful. Mia, wait. Adrian's voice stopped her at the door. If you go now, it looks like admission of guilt. She faced him one last time. If you still think that, you never knew me at all. Upstairs, Mia packed quickly, taking only what she'd brought from Detroit. The designer clothes, the jewelry, all of it stayed. She had just zipped her suitcase when the bedroom door opened. Adrian stood there, his expression raw, vulnerable in a way she'd rarely seen. Don't go, he said simply. Why should I stay? You don't trust me. I trust what I feel. He stepped closer, and what I feel for you is stronger than my doubts. Mia se risolve wavered. Adrian, I've spent my life building walls, he continued, keeping people at a distance because it was safer. Then you came along and changed everything. And now I'm terrified. Not that you betrayed me, but that I'll lose you because I couldn't trust completely. His voice grew rough with emotion. I don't want to be my father, Mia. Cold and alone, suspicious of everyone. She came to him in the darkness, tears still damp on her cheeks. If you think I betrayed you, look at me when we're like this, she whispered, guiding his hands to her heart. Bodies don't lie. Their coming together was raw confession, each touch asking and answering questions words had tangled. Adrian's mouth found hers with desperate hunger, his hands pulling her closer as if afraid she might disappear. They moved to the bed, clothing discarded with urgent need. This wasn't like their first time, slow, exploratory, gentle. This was fierce, almost combative, each trying to prove something to the other through physical connection what words had failed to convey. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets damp with effort, the weight of accusations temporarily lifted. I'm sorry, Adrian murmured against her hair, for doubting you. I understand why you did, Mia replied. Marcus has poisoned everything. Not everything. Adrian's fingers traced her face in the darkness. Not this. They slept fitfully, waking before dawn to prepare for the hearing. The mood in the house was tense but determined, the legal team assembling final arguments. The signature capture method is our strongest point, Howard Jensen explained as they drove to the courthouse. It clearly violates digital consent laws. Mia nodded, though her mind was elsewhere. Something about Marcus's plans still bothered her. The elaborate nature of it, the years of groundwork, the multiple contingencies. What was his backup plan? She wondered aloud. Adrian glanced at her. What do you mean? Marcus couldn't have known I'd drop my napkin that night, or that you'd invite me to your table, or that we'd end up married. There are too many variables. He must have had other plans. The lawyers exchanged looks. She's right, Rebecca said slowly. The Amanda Brooks angle was clearly plan A. When that fell through, he adjusted. Which means he's adjusted again, Adrian realized. The signature transfer isn't his endgame. It's too easily challenged legally. Then what is? Before anyone could answer, Rebecca's phone chimed with an alert. Someone's accessing the company's core servers from inside the system. Marcus doesn't have that kind of access, Adrian said, frowning. No, Rebecca agreed, her expression grim. But Dr. Caroline Winters does. As head of the medical technology division, understanding dawned on Mia's face. She was never on our side. Her testimony against Marcus at the board meeting was part of their plan all along, Adrian finished, to establish her credibility before the real attack. The hearing was a blur of legal arguments, with Marcus appearing confident despite the judge's clear skepticism about the signature capture method. What bothered Mia most was his lack of concern when the judge indicated she was leaning toward blocking the transfer. "He knows something we don't," she whispered to Adrian. The proceedings were interrupted when Rebecca burst into the courtroom, face pale. "Your Honor, I apologize for the disruption, but this is directly relevant to the case." She handed a tablet to the judge, who frowned at the screen. "Mr. Cole, are you aware that your company's medical technology division just released all its proprietary research to the public domain?" Adrian stared in disbelief. "That's impossible." "Apparently not," the judge replied. "According to this press release signed by Dr. Caroline Winters, Cole Industries is democratizing medical research for the greater good." Marcus's smile was triumphant. "How noble of you, cousin." The courtroom erupted in chaos. As lawyers scrambled to respond, Adrian's security chief pushed through the crowd. "Sir," he said urgently, leaning close. "We found something." "About the ring." "What ring?" Adrian asked, distracted by the legal crisis unfolding. "Your mother's emerald ring. The one you gave Mrs. Cole when you married." Mia looked up sharply. "What about it?" "Our techs found an embedded microchip. Microscopic state-of-the-art. It's been transmitting data from every system you access when wearing it." Adrian went completely still. "The ring has been monitoring our systems?" "Since when?" "Since before your father died," the security chief confirmed. "It wasn't Marcus who bugged your systems. It was your father." Dawn broke with Rebecca bursting in, breathless. "It wasn't Mia. We found a breach. It was the ring." Adrian stared at the family heirloom he'd placed on Mia's finger, the diamond that had belonged to his mother, that had connected to every system in his digital empire, that had been Marcus's Trojan horse all along. How do you prove your loyalty when all evidence points against you? Have you ever had to fight to be believed by someone you love? Share your story of trust tested. He lost his father's company but found something his father never had, a woman who chose him for himself, not for what he could provide or protect. The reporter made rapid notes, her story clearly evolving before their eyes. As the interview concluded, Diane asked one final question. "If you could speak directly to your shareholders right now, what would you say?" Adrian didn't hesitate. That Cole Industries has always been about innovation with integrity, about building technology that improves lives. My personal life, who I love, how I came to love them, doesn't change my commitment to that vision. After Diane left, Mia and Adrian sat in silence, the weight of what they'd revealed settling around them. "That was," Mia started, "either brilliant or catastrophic." Adrian finished, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "We'll find out which at the board meeting." Rebecca returned, her expression unreadable. "Car's ready. The board is gathering." As they prepared to leave, Adrian's phone chimed with a message that made him freeze. "What is it?" Mia asked. He showed her the screen. "A text from Marcus. Nice interview. Shame it won't matter. Check your email before the meeting. Last chance to resign gracefully." Adrian's email revealed a formal notice from his father's lawyer, a previously undisclosed codicil to the will stating that if the board voted no confidence in Adrian's leadership, all controlling shares would revert to Marcus regardless of Adrian's marital status. "He can't do this," Mia breathed. "Can he?" "He already has." Adrian's voice was tight. "He's been working the board for weeks while we were in Detroit. This vote is happening today whether we're ready or not." The lawyer called with an unexpected solution. "Your father's will doesn't specify what kind of marriage. If you legally wed before midnight, you keep control, even if you divorce immediately after." Adrian looked at Mia, the question in his eyes clear. Was she willing to become his wife for real, even if just for a moment? "We're already married," Mia reminded the lawyer, confused. "The codicil contains language about shared domestic life and mutual financial commitment," the lawyer explained. "Your prenup explicitly separates your finances and establishes separate residences after the first year. So what are you suggesting? Tear up the prenup. File new papers establishing joint ownership of assets. Make the marriage legally ironclad beyond what Marcus can challenge." Adrian ended the call, his expression troubled. That would mean I'd have legal claim to half of everything you own, Mia finished. No safety net, no exit strategy. The implication hung between them. This would no longer be a business arrangement, but a true merger of lives. We should get to the board meeting, Adrian said, not addressing the lawyer's suggestion directly. Deal with one crisis at a time. As they stepped outside toward the waiting car, the reporters surged against the security line, shouting questions. Adrian's hand found Mia's, steady and sure. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, squeezing his fingers. "Together, how would you handle having your private life splashed across headlines? Would you run from the spotlight or stand your ground? Comment your thoughts below." She married him at 11:58 p.m. with reporters crowding the courthouse steps, not knowing if she'd be his wife for a lifetime or just 3 minutes. The coal industry's boardroom felt like a battlefield when they arrived. 14 men and women in immaculate suits sat around a gleaming table, tension thick in the air. Marcus occupied a chair near the head, looking confident in victory. "Adrian," he greeted smoothly, "and the lovely Mrs. Cole. How kind of you to join us for this difficult discussion." Adrian didn't acknowledge him, instead addressing the board chair. "Janet, I understand there's a confidence vote scheduled. I'd like to speak first." Janet Wells, a stern woman in her 60s who had served on the board since Adrian's father's time, nodded once. "The floor is yours." For the next 20 minutes, Adrian spoke with passion and precision about the company's trajectory, the successful expansion into Asian markets, and the medical technology division that had grown 300% under his leadership. He addressed his absence directly, presenting it as evidence of the company's strong management structure rather than abandonment. A CEO who can step away for a family emergency and return to a company that continued to thrive has built something sustainable, he concluded. "That was always my father's vision, a company that would outlast any individual, even himself." Several board members nodded in agreement. Marcus's smile tightened. "Very inspiring," he said, standing. "But let's address the elephant in the room, shall we? The marriage clause." He distributed folders to each board member. These documents show conclusively that Adrian's marriage was arranged specifically to fulfill the letter of my uncle's will while violating its spirit. A prenuptial agreement with a 1-year termination date. Separate finances. A clear business arrangement with a woman he met mere days before the deadline. Murmurs rippled around the table. Adrian remained calm, though Mia could feel the tension in his body beside her. Furthermore, Marcus continued, while this marriage was being consummated, Adrian abandoned his post during critical negotiations to pursue a personal agenda in Detroit. "I donated a kidney to my sister-in-law," Adrian stated flatly. "Hardly a vacation. Noble, certainly," Marcus conceded with false sympathy, "but ultimately a choice that prioritized your new arrangement over the company my uncle built." The board chair cleared her throat. "These are serious allegations. Marcus, what exactly are you proposing?" "The codicil is clear. If the board votes no confidence, control reverts to me as the secondary heir." Marcus's smile was shark-like. "I would, of course, keep Adrian on in an advisory capacity." "How generous," Mia muttered, earning a warning glance from Rebecca. Janet studied the documents. "This prenuptial agreement does raise questions about the nature of the marriage." "A prenup is standard practice for someone of Adrian's wealth," Rebecca interjected. "It doesn't invalidate the relationship." The timing, however, another board member noted, is suspicious at best. Debate erupted around the table, with Marcus smoothly steering the conversation toward doubt and suspicion. Mia watched as the tide gradually turned, more board members glancing at the documents with concern. "May I speak?" she asked suddenly. All eyes turned to her, surprise evident on several faces. "Mrs. Cole," Janet said, "this is highly irregular." "So, is this entire situation?" Mia replied. "But since my marriage is being questioned, I believe I have the right to address it." After a moment, Janet nodded. Mia stood, hand steady despite her racing heart. "I won't pretend our relationship followed a conventional timeline. Adrian and I met suddenly, connected quickly, and married sooner than most would consider prudent. She paused, looking directly at Marcus. But I will not allow anyone to question the validity of our commitment. Not after watching my husband donate an organ to save my sister. Not after seeing him risk everything he's built to be by my side during a family crisis. Her voice strengthened. The prenup exists because Adrian is honorable, because he wanted to ensure I never felt trapped by the disparity in our circumstances. But if that document is being used against him, then I suggest we solve the problem immediately. She turned to Adrian, whose expression had shifted from surprise to something deeper, more complex. I propose we nullify the prenuptial agreement, she said clearly. Establish joint ownership of all assets. Remove any language about separation or termination. A hush fell over the room. Even Marcus looked momentarily thrown. Mia, Adrian said quietly, you don't have to do this. I know. She held his gaze. I want to. The board chair cleared her throat. While this is dramatic, it doesn't address the confidence vote scheduled for today. Then perhaps this will, came a new voice from the doorway. Dr. Caroline Winters stood there, elegant and composed. The board members exchanged confused glances while Marcus went pale. Caroline, he managed. This is a private meeting. Yes, I gathered that from the security guards who tried to stop me. She stepped into the room. But I believe the board should hear what I have to say before voting. Janet gestured to an empty chair. Please, Dr. Winters, proceed. What followed was a methodical dismantling of Marcus's character and intentions. Caroline detailed his manipulation, his placement of her at Detroit General specifically to monitor Lily Evans, and his years-long plan to undermine Adrian's inheritance. He didn't just want the company, she concluded. He wanted to destroy Adrian personally, to expose and humiliate him for helping me escape their marriage. By the time she finished, the mood in the room had shifted dramatically. Marcus attempted to discredit her as a bitter ex-wife, but the documentation she provided, including emails and recorded conversations, was damning. Janet called for a brief recess. As the board members filed out, Marcus approached Adrian, his composure finally cracking. This isn't over, he hissed. The vote hasn't happened yet. No, Adrian agreed calmly. But it will. When the board returned 30 minutes later, the confidence vote passed overwhelmingly in Adrian's favor. Marcus stormed out, legal threats trailing behind him. We still need to address the codicil, Rebecca reminded them as they left the building. The language about your marriage is problematic, especially with Marcus challenging it. We need a lawyer, Adrian agreed, and a judge. Tonight. The next hours passed in a blur of legal consultations and urgent filings. Howard Jensen worked frantically to draft new marriage documents that would satisfy the codicil's requirements, while Rebecca coordinated with a sympathetic judge who agreed to see them after hours. By 11:30 p.m., they stood in Judge Hamilton's chambers. The courthouse is surrounded by reporters who had caught wind of the dramatic legal showdown. Are you absolutely certain about this? Adrian asked Mia as they waited for the judge. Once we sign these papers, you'll legally own half of everything I built. I'm sure, Mia said simply. Why? The question seemed to escape him almost against his will. This goes far beyond our original agreement. Mia took his hands in hers. Because somewhere between that restaurant in Chicago and your hospital bed in Detroit, I stopped pretending. The simplicity of her answer seemed to take his breath away. Me too, he whispered. The judge's chambers felt surreal at midnight, the legal document before them transforming their elaborate charade into binding truth with just 2 signatures and the mechanical tick of the wall clock counting down the seconds of their bachelor lives. By signing this agreement, Judge Hamilton explained, you are declaring your marriage a full legal partnership. All assets become jointly held. All future earnings shared equally. The previous prenuptial agreement will be null and void. Adrian signed first, his pen hovering only briefly before committing. Mia followed, the clock showing 11:58 p.m. Congratulations, the judge said, stamping the document. Your marriage is now officially beyond legal reproach. Just in time, Rebecca murmured, checking her watch. As they exited the courthouse, Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing. Adrian pulled Mia close, protective and proud all at once. "Mr. Cole, is it true you've just remarried your own wife?" a reporter called. "Strengthened our commitment," Adrian corrected, his arm around Mia's waist. "Mrs. Cole, did you just become one of the richest women in America?" Mia smiled, finding her voice despite the chaos. "I became rich the day I found someone who valued me for more than what I could give him." As the courthouse doors opened to camera flashes, Adrian pulled her close and whispered words only she could hear. "I don't want to divorce you tomorrow. I want this to be real." Before she could answer, Marcus appeared through the crowd with a final bombshell. "Congratulations, cousin. Now let me introduce your new wife to the woman you were originally supposed to marry. Would you marry someone knowing they might only need you temporarily? What does it take to leap into uncertainty for someone else?" Share your boldest relationship decision in the comments. The woman he was supposed to marry wasn't a stranger after all. She was the doctor who'd been treating Mia's sister for years. Recognition dawned like ice water as Mia stared at the familiar face. Dr. Winters had held her hand through her sister's worst days, had known her fears and hopes, had perhaps known all along whose life she was stepping into. But the woman Marcus pushed forward wasn't Caroline Winters. It was Dr. Amanda Brooks, Lily's original specialist before Dr. Winters had taken over her case. "Hello, Adrian," she said, her voice carrying clearly despite the media chaos. "It's been a while." Adrian's body went rigid beside Mia. "Amanda." Marcus's smirk was triumphant. "Surprised, cousin? You shouldn't be. Uncle Robert arranged everything before he died. Amanda was supposed to be your blind date that night in Chicago. The woman who would help you fulfill the will's requirements." Mia's mind raced. The night Adrian had been waiting at that restaurant. The night she'd literally fallen into his life. "Is this true?" she asked Adrian, whose face had gone carefully blank. "I was meeting someone," he admitted. "A date arranged by my father's lawyer. I didn't know who." Dr. Brooks stepped closer, ignoring the reporters frantically capturing every moment. "I was running late. By the time I arrived, you were deep in conversation with her." She nodded toward Mia. "You looked engaged. I decided not to interrupt." "How convenient," Marcus sneered. And now we discover this woman's sister was Amanda's patient. The same sister who miraculously received Adrian's kidney. The connections are rather suspicious, wouldn't you say, members of the press? Cameras clicked frantically, reporters shouting questions. Mia felt the narrative slipping away from them, Marcus regaining control. "That's enough," Adrian said, his voice cutting through the noise. "Amanda, I apologize that you were drawn into my father's manipulations." "Marcus, this pathetic attempt to create scandal won't work." He turned to the press. "Yes, I was supposed to meet someone else that night. Yes, I chose Mia instead. Best decision I ever made." His arm tightened around Mia's waist. "Now if you'll excuse us, my wife and I are going home." Security cleared a path to their waiting car. Once inside, the privacy petition raised, Mia finally asked the question burning inside her. "Did you know? About Dr. Brooks? About the connection to Lily?" Adrian shook his head, looking genuinely stunned. "I never knew who I was supposed to meet that night. The lawyer just gave me a time and place." "But the coincidence isn't one," Adrian finished grimly. "Marcus has been manipulating events from the beginning, setting up specialists for Lily, arranging the blind date, probably even making sure you got that charity ticket for the restaurant." The realization was dizzying. "So our meeting wasn't an accident." "The meeting may have been engineered," Adrian said, taking her hand. "But everything that followed, every choice we made, that was real." Mia wasn't so sure. If their entire relationship had been orchestrated from the start. "I need to think," she said quietly. The drive home passed in tense silence, both lost in their own thoughts. At the house, Rebecca was waiting with the crisis management team, but Adrian dismissed them until morning. "Get some rest," he told Mia. "Tomorrow will be challenging." She nodded, too emotionally drained to argue. In their bedroom, still separate from his, despite their newly strengthened legal marriage, Mia tried to make sense of the night's revelations. Had anything been real? Or had she been a pawn in a game between Adrian and Marcus from the start? Sleep eluded her. Around 2 a.m., she gave up trying and headed to the kitchen for tea. To her surprise, Adrian was already there, staring out at the moonlit ocean. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. He turned, his expression troubled. Too much to process. Mia busied herself making tea, needing the simple ritual to ground her. "Tell me about Dr. Brooks." Adrian sighed. "We were in the same social circles. Her father was on my company's first board of directors. I imagine my father thought she'd be a suitable match. Wealthy family, proper background, medical career. The opposite of me," Mia noted, trying to keep her voice neutral. "Yes." Adrian didn't sugarcoat it. "You were never part of my father's plan, which is exactly why what happened between us matters more." She handed him a cup of tea, their fingers brushing. "Did you know her well?" "Before, we'd met at charity events, exchanged pleasantries." He shrugged. "Nothing memorable. But you were willing to meet her that night, for the blind date." Adrian's eyes met hers. "I was willing to do whatever it took to keep my company. Just as you were willing to marry a stranger to save your sister." The parallel was uncomfortably accurate. "Did you choose me because I reminded you of her?" Mia demanded, voice breaking. "Or because I was convenient? Just another desperate girl you could save." Adrian set down his cup, moving closer. "I chose you because when you fell into my life, you got back up on your own. You faced down an entire restaurant of judging eyes without flinching. You were real in a way no one in my world had ever been." The sincerity in his voice made her want to believe him. "But if Marcus arranged everything, your meeting Dr. Brooks, her connection to Lily, how can we know any of our choices were really ours?" Adrian reached for her hands. "Because of this," he said simply, "this conversation, these doubts, if we were just following someone else's script, would we be questioning it so deeply?" Morning brought fresh challenges. Amanda Brooks had given interviews to 3 major outlets, describing how she'd been positioned to marry Adrian as part of his father's plan. The story was spinning out of control, with speculation about Adrian's personal life resurfacing despite Diane Powell's sympathetic piece. "We need to get ahead of this," Rebecca insisted during an emergency meeting. "The board support is fragile. Marcus is rallying shareholders. What do you suggest?" Adrian asked, looking tired despite his impeccable suit. "A joint interview. You and Mia, addressing the allegations directly, emphasizing your legitimate relationship regardless of how you met." Mia, who had been silent throughout the meeting, finally spoke. "I want to talk to Dr. Brooks first." "Alone?" Adrian looked surprised. "What?" "Because she's the only one who might know how deep this manipulation goes." Mia met his gaze steadily. "I need to understand what we're really fighting." After some debate, they arranged a private meeting at a discreet hotel. Dr. Brooks arrived precisely on time, as poised in person as she had appeared on television. The revelation about the ring changed everything. The judge immediately halted proceedings while forensic technicians confirmed what Adrian's security team had discovered. The emerald ring, a Cole family heirloom passed down from Adrian's mother, contained a sophisticated surveillance device that had been accessing company systems for years. "Your father had it installed," the technician explained to a stunned courtroom. "According to the signature in the code, it was activated 3 months before his death." Adrian sat motionless, processing this final betrayal. "He never trusted me. Even after giving me the company, he wanted a way to control it. And Marcus knew," Mia realized. "That's why he was so insistent about the marriage clause in the will. He knew whoever wore that ring would unknowingly give him access." The judge ordered an immediate forensic audit of all Cole Industries systems and froze any transfers pending investigation. Marcus's smug confidence evaporated as federal agents escorted him from the courtroom for questioning about corporate espionage. Outside, reporters swarmed, hungry for details of the sensational twist. Adrian guided Mia through the chaos, his hand firm at her back, united once more. "What now?" she asked when they were safely in the car. Adrian's expression was grim but resolved. "Now we assess the damage. The medical research Dr. Winters released is worth billions. Patents, protocols, years of development, all of it public. Can it be contained? No. He shook his head. Once information like that is released, there's no taking it back. Every pharmaceutical company in the world is already downloading it. The implications were staggering. Coal industry's most valuable division had essentially been gutted overnight. The stock will crash when the markets open, Rebecca warned from the front seat. The board will expect emergency measures. Adrian nodded, but his eyes remained on Mia. Are you okay? The simple question, amid corporate catastrophe, touched her deeply. I'm not the one who just lost billions. His fingers found hers. I'm sorry I doubted you. You had reason to, she admitted. The evidence was convincing. No, Adrian disagreed. The evidence was circumstantial. What should have been convincing was everything I know about your character. His grip tightened. I won't make that mistake again. The days that followed were brutal. As predicted, coal industry's stock plummeted 60% when news broke of the proprietary data release. The board demanded immediate action. Shareholders filed lawsuits. The media circled like vultures. The boardroom felt different now. No longer a throne room he was desperate to claim, but simply a space where men and women made decisions about money and power, none of which seemed to matter compared to the woman waiting for him at home. The medical division is effectively worthless now, Rebecca reported during an emergency session. Without exclusive patents, we're just another research outfit. What are our options? Adrian asked, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up after hours of crisis management. Slash and burn, one board member suggested. Cut the division entirely. Focus on our cybersecurity products. File for Chapter 11, another proposed. Restructure under bankruptcy protection. Sell to our competitors while there's still value. A third advised. Adrian listened to each proposal, his expression thoughtful rather than panicked. When everyone had spoken, he stood. Those are all logical responses, he acknowledged, and all fundamentally wrong. Surprise rippled around the table. What Marcus and my father never understood, Adrian continued, is that coal industries isn't valuable because of its patents or profit margins. It's valuable because of what we build, technology that improves lives. He moved to the windows overlooking Seattle's skyline. Our medical research is public now. Fine, let's lean into that. Become the company that chose to democratize life-saving innovations. Partner with universities, nonprofits, global health organizations. Build a new model where collaboration creates value, not secrecy. That's idealistic nonsense, objected the most senior board member. Shareholders won't accept it. Some won't, Adrian agreed. Those who are only interested in quarterly returns should sell their shares now. I'll buy them myself if necessary. You don't have that kind of capital available, Rebecca pointed out. Not with the stock price in free fall. Actually, he does, came a new voice from the doorway. Mia entered, followed by Dr. Amanda Brooks and, surprisingly, Caroline Winters. What is this? Demanded the board chair. The solution, Mia replied confidently. Dr. Brooks, would you explain? Amanda stepped forward, professional and composed. While coal industry's general medical research was released, the advanced gene therapy protocols developed in our private lab were not affected. Those patents remain intact and valuable. Caroline nodded. Marcus didn't know about the secondary research facility. It operated under a shell company structure that even I couldn't access. Adrian looked stunned. The Minneapolis Initiative? That was theoretical research. Not anymore, Amanda smiled. The clinical trials concluded last month. The results are extraordinary. Targeted gene therapies for conditions previously considered untreatable. The board members exchanged confused glances. How does this help our immediate situation? The chair asked. Because, Mia explained, the Minneapolis research was never officially part of coal industries. It was structured as a separate entity under Adrian's personal control. Understanding dawned on Adrian's face, which means it's not affected by the company's current crisis. Exactly, Amanda confirmed. And 4 major pharmaceutical companies are already bidding for licensing rights. Starting price, $8 billion. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Enough to buy back controlling interest in coal industries at the current depressed stock price, Rebecca calculated quickly. With billions to spare. That was my father's contingency plan, Adrian realized. A research division completely separate from the company, known only to him. And now to you, Caroline added. He may not have trusted you with everything, Adrian, but he did trust you with this. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Robert Cole's paranoia had created both the vulnerability Marcus exploited and the solution to survive it. Why are you helping us? Adrian asked Caroline directly. You worked with Marcus. Because he lied to me too, she replied simply. He promised reform of the company, not destruction. And because she glanced at Mia, some people deserve second chances. The strategy session lasted until midnight. By morning, Adrian had secured backing from the board for his bold plan, using the Minneapolis patents to stabilize coal industries while transitioning the medical division to a new open-source model that would transform healthcare research globally. The press release went out at market opening. Coal Industries announces revolutionary approach to medical innovation. The stock, expected to continue falling, stabilized, then began a cautious climb as analysts processed the unexpected pivot. It's working, Rebecca reported, watching the financial feeds. The narrative is shifting from corporate espionage disaster to visionary restructuring. Adrian barely registered the news. His focus remained on Mia, who had been instrumental in bringing Amanda and Caroline together, in uncovering the Minneapolis option when all seemed lost. How did you know? He asked when they finally had a moment alone. About the separate research facility? I didn't, Mia admitted, but I knew your father was calculating. He wouldn't have left you vulnerable without a backup plan. So I started asking questions, first Amanda, then Caroline. They filled in the pieces. Adrian shook his head in wonder. You saved my company. No, Mia corrected. I help you save it yourself. There's a difference. That difference between rescue and partnership defined everything that had changed between them since that first night in Chicago. 3 months later, the transformation was complete. Coal Industries had not only survived, but emerged stronger, with Adrian's new vision attracting talent and partners from around the world. The Minneapolis patents generated enough revenue to fund the company's bold open-source initiatives, creating a hybrid model that business schools were already studying. Marcus faced federal charges for corporate espionage. Dr. Winters, in exchange for testimony, received immunity and a position at a research hospital far from Seattle. Lily continued to thrive with her new kidney, her recovery exceeding all medical expectations. And Mia, the woman who had entered Adrian's life through a literal fall, found herself in a role she'd never imagined, helping direct the Cole Foundation's new healthcare accessibility programs. Are you sure about this? She asked Adrian one evening as they stood on their deck, overlooking the ocean. Making me director? People will talk. Let them, he replied, arms encircling her from behind. You understand the needs of patients and families better than any consultant we could hire. Because I lived it, she acknowledged. Exactly. The sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the glass house in golden light. So much had changed since she'd first seen it. Not just the house, which now felt like a home, but the man beside her and the woman she'd become. I never thanked you, Adrian said softly, for staying when anyone else would have left. Mia turned in his arms. I stayed because I finally found something worth fighting for. The money? The lifestyle? He teased gently. You, she said simply. Just you. Adrian's eyes, once guarded and cold, now held warmth she'd helped nurture. I love you, Mia Cole. Not for what you did for my company or my image, but for seeing me when I was hiding from everyone, including myself. She welcomed him home with arms that offered something no inheritance could buy. Acceptance without conditions, desire without performance, love without legal clauses. We don't need papers anymore, she whispered against his skin. This is the real contract. Their bodies sealed promises no lawyer had written. 6 months after the courtroom revelation, they returned to Chicago, to the same rooftop restaurant where Mia had literally fallen into Adrian's life. The table was the same, the view unchanged, but everything else had transformed. "Do you ever wonder?" Mia asked, twisting her wedding band, a simple gold one that definitely contained no surveillance equipment. "What would have happened if I hadn't tripped that night?" "Adrian, consider this. I think we would have found each other eventually." "That confident, that certain," he corrected. "Some things are just meant to be, contract or no contract." As dessert arrived, Adrian reached across the table for her hand. "I have something for you." He placed a small box beside her plate. Inside wasn't jewelry, but a key. "What's this?" "The deed to a building in Detroit," he explained, "for the new Cole Foundation Medical Center. Specialized care for families like yours, with no bills to worry about." Tears filled Mia's eyes. "Adrian, your sister is already on board as patient advocate," he continued. "If you approve, of course." "If I approve?" she repeated, incredulous. "You're building a medical center and asking my permission?" His smile was tender. "I'm building our legacy and asking my partner what she thinks. That's how this works now, remember?" Mia leaned across the table and kissed him, not caring who watched. "I think," she said softly, "that I'm glad I fell that night." "I'm glad I caught you," Adrian replied, the shyness that wants to find him now, just one facet of a man fully known. "And even more glad you caught me. From contract to commitment, from arrangement to love, their unlikely beginning had led to something neither could have designed or demanded. Something real. What matters more, what you inherit or what you choose? Would you rather have wealth and power, or someone who loves you for exactly who you are? Tell me in the comments what you'd choose if you couldn't have both.